I think this conference is really for all different types of trauma clinicians because it presents such an integrative approach. So this is for people working with cognitive behavioral therapy predominantly, because it will give them, an expanded view of how we can treat trauma and expand their skills. It's also for people who do a lot of sensory motor based treatments or somatic experiencing, because again, it will expand their views of how they can integrate different expressive arts methods as well. It's also for neurofeedback practitioners, because I think neurofeedback plays an integral role in shifting sensory processing in the brain. And of course, it's also for people with lived experience, because they will get exposed and be involved in the discussion, how we can really thrive in the aftermath of trauma using a very integrative approach and really getting at some of the core issues that are affected by trauma.
Yeah, I agree with all the above. I think what's interesting that might be attractive to some other groups is this broad range of understanding the human experience of trauma itself, but how, again, you resensitize the body to things that include more empowerment and positivity and resilience and joy and play. And that comes about a lot of different ways that all kinds of practitioners interact with people. It could be pastoral counseling. Certainly childcare workers need some of this foundation to understand what's going on with, children they might see, and they're not in a clinical setting, but they're in a setting where they could apply some of these basic things about regulation, about rhythm, about balance, and be helpful in that way. There's certainly the whole field of occupational therapy, where occupational therapists, are providing a lot of this information, but may not see that connection between what they're doing and how it can impact psychological trauma in some really profound ways. And there are a lot of people out there doing facilitating work in professions that are not really categorized as mental health, but we have a lot of coaches and educators out there that I think can use a lot of this information. And certainly, as Ruth said, people with lived experience, and they may be leaders of communities where they can take some of this and apply it in different ways. So, and I think that's one of the goals here too, is to reach those kinds of communities that may not have access in the traditional ways that we think about in clinics and hospitals and agencies, but in their own neighborhoods. They may have community centers, or they may be a church community, where some of these principles might be really helpful for
and
them
also
too.
Teachers, right? Workers who so
Classroom.
frequently interact with traumatized children. I think they would also really benefit. And I think, the conference is really here to empower individuals with lived experience and therapists, so we can look at a very integrative and new way of approaching trauma when our traditional ways don't work.